finally, Nicolas Cage once bought a two-headed snake for protection. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
I have a list here of things Nicolas Cage has bought. We will get to that at some point. We were talking earlier about Nicolas Cage, his movies, the things that he has purchased, and we really glossed over Facts and Info. Can you get me some information on this, please? You guys just mentioned flippantly that on top of buying a couple of islands, that he purchased a haunted house. And we just moved past it without any follow-up questions. Can you please find more information for me on what do you mean Nicolas Cage bought a haunted house?
New Orleans, right?
Okay, but
like a famed one, like one of those famed hotels that the athletes are scared of, I think.
I don't know, but I'd like to find out, how did Nicolas Cage purchase a haunted house?
Could you imagine if Nicolas Cage buys this haunted house and he turns it into like a ghost tours thing, and like this is his plan when he's done acting, and he takes you on ghost tours?
Well,
wouldn't that be awesome?
You would do this. I want to find out more about this haunted house. Here's some of the things that Nicolas Cage has bought in his life. We were talking about why he's making so many movies. Then we found out the tax man is chasing him because he is. Nicolas Cage is making a movie. I found this hard to believe the other day when I saw the stat. Every 4 minutes, he's coming out with a new movie so that he could pay the IRS back. And it's because he's owned 15 residences, including homes of $25 million, $15 million, and $8 million.
Yeah, and that's the main problem there is the property taxes. He has 15 homes. He doesn't pay the property taxes.
That's right. Over in Europe, he's got not one but two castles for $10 million and $2.3 million, respectively. He's got $3 million on at least one deserted island in the Bahamas. He's got a burial tomb. He spent about $500,000 buying the Lamborghini of the late Shah of Iran. He paid $150,000 for a pet octopus. He outbid Leonardo DiCaprio for a 7-million-year-old dinosaur skull. The $276,000 artifact turned out to be stolen, however, and Cage had to return it to the Mongolian government.
Of course.
I hope he did that personally.
You know he did.
I'd like visually to imagine.
I've got.
I'm sorry. I was stolen. I didn't know. I bought it for $250,000. I also bought 2 albino king cobras.
He bought the LaLaurie Mansion in New Orleans, which is one of the most haunted estates in the country, once inhabited by a sadistic woman who tortured slaves and dismembered bodies in the 1830s.
Okay, but what is that took a dark turn. What do we have in terms of actual haunting ghosts, though? Like what can I find out about this place that it's reputed to be haunted, but what? What are the noise?
I'm on it.
Thank you. I want to know Nicolas Cage's haunted house. Wait a minute. You can't tell me that we can't find some good content somewhere in there? Nicolas Cage's haunted house. Hell, Guillermo just created a business, an entire economy around it. Ghost tours with Nicolas Cage.
He goes around with a candle.
Sure.
It's very, very poorly lit, obviously.
Yes, of course.
There's creaks. He
right,
turns
totally
around.
creaks. So many
Come
creaks.
on.
That's right.
That's my Nicolas Cage.
That was a very poor Nicolas Cage, $2. We've been talking about this Nicolas Cage haunted house. I really don't need to say anything else, right? That's a great phrase.
Yep.
And it's the LaLaurie Mansion in New Orleans. And Jeffrey Holmes is the owner and operator of Strange True Tours in New Orleans. And he can tell us, because I was asking, give me some specifics on what do you mean this house is famously haunted? So Jeffrey's joining us now. Allison tracked him down. Thank you, Jeffrey, for joining us. What the hell, man?
You're welcome.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yep, good question.
What the hell?
It was the site of some horrific torture to her slaves and such back in the 1830s. And years go by, and Nicolas Cage bought the house sight unseen. It's one of the most famous haunted houses in the city. And basically spent a weekend in it, and that was it.
Well, what happened? A weekend because he was partying, or a weekend because he got scared and fled the premises? Hello? All right, we lost
Cage cut the line there.
I don't think we got any more answers than we had before.
We really didn't.
Yeah.
So far, right now, we're just staring at each other in a bad phone line.
Did we know that Cage spent a weekend there?
No, we got that.
All
but
right.
other than that, he repeated what Chris said.
Maybe the haunted house got him.
Okay. Or maybe we just aren't very good at phone lines sometimes. So Allison did the hard part of getting this person. Okay, he's here back again from the beyond. What do you mean, Nicolas Cage?
I'm here.
Yeah, no, thank you for being on with us
we
again,
appreciate it.
Jeffrey. I hope that your spiritual journey while you were lost, that you saw many things that enlightened you. Can you explain to us why Nicolas Cage was only there for a weekend?
Yeah, basically he was spending his first weekend in the house, and it was Halloween weekend. And the house is literally surrounded by a dozen groups of 30 people, all the haunted tour groups and everything. And he comes out on the balcony and he sees, several hundred people surrounding his house, and he thinks everybody's there for him because he's Nicolas Cage, and he's waving to the crowd and that. But everybody has this look of horror on their face because they're hearing, the tour guide's version of the mutilations and tortures and horrific things that went on inside. And he notices one of the tour companies in their T-shirts and calls them up. And the owner of the tour company says, well, your house is on the tour. Come on down and take the tour. So he did. He brought the wife and kids. And it was an acquaintance of mine, Midian, who got to give the tour because I used to work for that company. And they're standing across the street from his house, hearing of what happened in the house. And after hearing this horrific story, Nick, the wife, and the kids all looked at each other, freaked out, walked off the tour on the spot, packed their bags, and checked into a hotel on Canal Street. And so literally the Ghost Rider never spent another night in his own haunted house.
All right, tremendous. All right, so how in other ways...
And then the tax people took it away from him.
Right,
Okay.
right.
All
He
right.
spent $3.5 million to spend the weekend
That's right,
in that
a
house.
weekend in the house.
Yeah.
Well, can you explain to us again? And wow, that is a wonderful story. Again, Jeffrey Holmes, owner, operator, Strange True Tours in New Orleans. It's a wonderful story. I'm still no closer to how and this home is actually haunted. Now, I understand those are horrific stories, and so what? The ghosts are now rattling around in the house? What are the stories involving the house?
There's everything from the ghost of a man wrapped in chains walking down the hallway on the third floor, because that's where the attic was, where all the tortures and mutilations took place. I don't know if you've seen American Horror Story, the TV show.
I've seen of it. I don't. You just really threw that in my lap there. Like,
They used one of the seasons was based in New Orleans, and Delphine LaLaurie was one of the main characters, and there were some gruesome events that took place in the third floor attic space. And they say there's a ghost of a little girl that fell off the balcony to her death. They pulled 7 bodies out of the attic space that were in just horrific condition. And it's been many, many things over the years, and nobody can seem to hold a business in it or have any kind of operation in it for very long before it shuts down and the place sells.
All right, I got to let you go, Jeffrey. Hold on. I'm going to let you go on that note because I don't think that our staff is fundamentally aware of what just happened there. This guy is telling horrible stories. Horrible stories. And you and Allison are laughing about something like we are on ESPNU right now. Look at Allison's face.
I've seen of it.
I know you guys are making fun of me. Hold on. Everybody slow down. Jeffrey, you get out of here.
Get out.
You and your tour, get out of here. Thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it.
Come to New Orleans, and I'll take you to the graveyard and show you a film.
All right.
We built a 20-foot pyramid. It's hilarious.
All right, we get it.
All right. Get out of here.
All right, peace.
Thank you.
I've seen of it.
Okay. You guys were simply laughing at me blurting at him. I don't know why you threw that back in my lap that way. That's what you guys, and so what happens is, this is what people don't understand. If you're listening on ESPNU, hold on a second. Guillermo, do me a favor, please. Go back right now and cut only what he said, because I know Allison and Stugatz didn't hear any of what was being said because they were too busy laughing at me. But what you have happening on ESPNU is this damn tour guide was telling horrific stories that I couldn't hear because of the way that you and Allison were laughing in my face about me saying about the haunted TV shows that he was asking me about. I've seen of it.
We live in a racist country.
This is the Dan LeBatard Show on ESPN Radio.